If you stepped into ancient Egypt right now, the first thing to leave you speechless wouldn't be the pharaohs. It'd be the buildings. Massive stone temples that align with the stars. Columns shaped like blooming papyrus. Pyramids so precise we still can't replicate them. This wasn't just architecture, this was a sacred blueprint, designed for gods, for the dead, and for eternity. So today, we're not just talking about Egyptian architecture, we're decoding why it's still standing, still influencing, and still blowing minds, 4,000 years later. Let's get into it. In ancient Egypt, architecture began with belief. Life didn't end at death. It transitioned. The tomb was not only a resting place, but was a permanent home for the soul, that is the Ka. So Egyptians didn't pour energy into their houses. They saved it for what really mattered, temples for the gods, and tombs for the dead. And if you were royalty, you weren't just buried. You were immortalized in a pyramid that could be seen from miles away. Egyptians had little wood, so they normally built with stone. Limestone, sandstone, granite. It was heavy, it was durable, and it meant business. Post and lintel construction was the go-to technique. It comprised of huge vertical columns topped with massive horizontal beams. No arches, no domes, just raw mass. Mud brick was used for everyday buildings, but stone was reserved for gods and kings. Even more impressive were these structures, which were built with no mortar. Just dry construction, perfectly balanced blocks weighing tons, aligned with mathematical precision. Let's talk pyramids, the ultimate architectural flex. They weren't just tombs, they were metaphors. The four-sided shape pointed to the heavens, mimicking the sun's rays and the primeval mound from their creation myths. And what about the precision? The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned almost perfectly with true north. Its 2.5 million limestone blocks, averaging 2.5 tons each, were placed with such accuracy we still don't fully understand how. Think about this. The Great Pyramid stood as the tallest structure on Earth for over 3,800 years. That's not architecture. That's ambition carved in stone. Temples like Karnak and Luxor weren't just places of worship, they were massive, stone cities built to house gods. These temples followed a strict linear plan, long axial alignments, gates leading to open courtyards, leading into deeper, darker sanctuaries. It was symbolic. As you moved inward, you left the world of the living and stepped closer to the divine. The layout echoed the Nile River, straight, guiding, and essential. And often, temples were aligned to celestial events like equinoxes and solstices. Before we proceed, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and gets this content in front of more curious minds like yours. And also subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a daily dose of our content. Now, if you've ever walked through a hypo-style hall, you know the feeling. It's like stepping into a forest of stone. Egyptian columns weren't just supports, they were sacred symbols, modeled after lotus flowers, papyrus reeds, or bundled palms. Their tops, capitals, bloomed like buds reaching for the sky. Obelisks stood outside temples, tall, tapering pillars carved from a single stone, dedicated to the sun god Ra, often placed in pairs. They weren't just decorative, they were cosmic antennas channeling divine energy. And let's not forget the Sphinxes, guardians of sacred sites. Half lion, half god, they lined temple avenues to protect the divine from chaos. But back to tombs. Egyptians engineered death like we engineer skyscrapers. From the early mastabas, flat-topped benches of brick and stone, to the step pyramid by Imhotep, Egypt's first named architect, tomb design kept evolving. Inside these tombs were false doors to the afterlife, chambers filled with treasures, furniture, statues, and walls painted with food if they couldn't pack the real thing. They even left charms and spells to protect the soul on its journey. Think Egyptians didn't understand light? Think again. They pioneered clerestory lighting, raising the central roof in hypostyle halls, and adding slotted windows high up to let light filter in like divine beams. Massive courtyards were also used for sunlight and ventilation. These weren't dark, damp caves. These were light-filled halls of ritual and resonance. So what made ancient Egyptian architecture so unforgettable? It was monumental, but meaningful, mathematical, but mystical. They built in stone because they believed in forever. And thousands of years later, those beliefs still stand, towering over the Nile, whispering their secrets to the desert wind. If you enjoyed this dive into architecture that defies time, hit like, subscribe, and join us for more stories carved in stone. Thanks for watching.